This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. Here on, well, October the 5th, 2022, 5 o'clock in the evening, my time. But for my guest, it is 9 in the morning, October 6th, in New Zealand. Folks, I love the movie Pearl, and I just got back from Horrorama in Toronto. Do I sleep off jet lag? No. I talked to somebody from Pearl because it's a great movie. Folks, I have Mr. Matthew Sunderland. How do you do, Matthew?
Good morning, very well. How are you?
Not too bad. You know what? It was one of my coworkers at work that told me, because I thought you were 4 hours ahead of me in the UK. No, you're 14 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, right. Well, just to make matters more complicated, we've just gone into daylight savings here, so I think we've gone back or or forward back an hour or four. I can never work it out. But anyway, we get more daylight. So yeah, it gets darker later.
There you go.
It's
Well,
for the
certainly,
cows, apparently.
yeah, there you go. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with New Brunswick, Canada. It's in Atlantic Canada. You familiar with that?
Not so much, no.
No, of course. Not many people are, but I just got back from Toronto this afternoon, and had a great time at one of the cons there, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was so excited to book this, because I work at the hospital here,
Yeah, right.
yeah, housekeeping, and I do cleaning there, so I've been working
Yeah,
through the whole pandemic, but
right.
but I do this for fun and I love it. And I was so delighted to have you come on here because I really enjoyed Pearl. I loved X. So
Yeah.
what an honor.
Oh, honestly, mine. No, it was an extraordinary experience, really.
Mm-hmm.
One of these ones that happened. Well, you never expect these things to sort of land, but I just finished another, well, relatively sort of recently, another film, The Stranger, which we went to Cannes with this year because it was in competition there and in certain regard. Which is being released on Netflix this month. And anyway, so I was sort of back, sort of made it back home because we shot it during, sort of the lockdown and sort of COVID. And so I'd had to quarantine for 2 weeks at a hotel before I could come out and go home. But so I'd sort of settled myself back down, and all of a sudden there was another audition, and I thought, oh, as you do, and sort of and and I looked at it, and it was like, okay, there's no dialogue, and so the brief was unlike any other sort of brief I think that had ever sort of come my way, being a man who is severely disabled, shall we say, and who cannot speak and cannot move. So yeah, it was one of the more curious auditions I've ever had, and lo and behold, the news came back rather quickly, actually, which is not always the way. But before I knew it, I was in a car and driving 6 hours south to Wanganui, which is a small town in the middle of the North Island in New Zealand, and so began the experience of shooting Pearl. But
Yeah,
it was,
yeah.
yeah. No, go on.
No, I was gonna say I enjoyed I loved X, so I couldn't wait for Pearl. And of course you play Pearl's father
That's
in
right.
this. I gotta say, some people would probably pass this role up, but you really did something with this, and I don't know how many reviews I have read that has
Mm.
commented what you do with the role, because I'm going to tell you there are some tense moments in this film where your eyes do a lot of acting because
Yeah,
you're in a bad spot. I'm going to tell you the
yeah,
audience was nervous for you.
sure. No, well, it sort of made sense to me in terms in the context of a horror. You
Hmm.
know, how much more, you know, in terms of high stakes sort of, you know, position to be in, if you are completely immobile and you know, basically incommunicado, and you are at the mercy of, let's just say, a homicidal maniac. So you know, I just thought, well, no, this actually is more than just sort of you know, window dressing, if you like. It really feels like it's uh, inherent to the story in a really effective way. Um, and yeah, so no, it had its sort of fair share of challenges. There was quite a lot of sort of prosthetic makeup that was involved, because essentially he'd had what appears to have been a stroke, which was sort of triggered, if you like, by the you know, Spanish flu of the time, which apparently happened. So there was quite a lot of time in the I went down to Weta Studios in Wellington, and they did a big, you know, face a mold of my entire face, which involves basically covering your entire, if you're claustrophobic, it's your worst nightmare come true, because it's covering your entire face and sort of I don't know what it is, material, but like it's like a sort of a clay, plasticine clay sort of thing. And then they sort of do the, you know, they do a mold, and so they sort of you know, sculpted it so that the right hand side, or the left, I can't remember, but side of his face is you know, so it has sort of collapsed, as you know, as you often see in stroke victims. But and the other, I mean, the other part of that for me, which was sort of made it, you know, very personal, was that I'd just lost my father to a stroke.
I just lost my father in April to ALS.
Oh, I'm so sorry. What
Yeah,
what is ALS?
the Lou Gehrig's disease. My
Oh
brother took.
yes. All
Yeah, my
right.
brother Andrew was taking care of him all this time too,
I'm sorry.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so I can relate to that, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it just, you know, so that was still very vivid and fresh in my mind. It sort of was a couple of years, you know, prior, and I don't know, just I suppose, you know, I just sort of thought, well, I'll do. I sort of felt like I had it, you know, I sort of understood, or it was so vivid in my mind, you know. I thought, no, I sort of know what this is, you know.
Hmm.
And he was such a, you know, he was such a huge supporter of mine, and you know, he loved horror, you know what I mean. And I thought, no, dude, this is for him. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, you're in the wheelchair, and you get the feeling that Pearl really didn't hate her dad. She
that's
hated her
right.
mom, but you get the feeling she didn't hate her dad. But her dad was kind of ended up being a crutch in her life due to her mom.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. No, I feel like, yeah, there is a you know, tremendous sort of backstory there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he was probably, you know, uh, very capable, you know, farmer, or, you know, man of the land. And you know, they would have been proud immigrants, but not easy,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, in that, you know, at the time, very hard sort of conditions. But yeah, I think there's nothing to suggest otherwise, that he didn't have a great relationship with his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it is tragic, in the that sort of sense of he is someone who has really lost everything. He his ability to provide, his pride,
Mm-hmm.
um, and but he's still there, like he's very, and this was something that I had to really take into account, was that even though his physical sort of abilities are diminished to the point of almost being sort of non-existent,
Mm-hmm.
he's all there. He's in his mind and in his um, consciousness. He's the same man. So yeah, it is kind of, it's kind of it's kind of heartbreaking in a way, which again just sort of adds to, which is sort of really why I took the role. Because I thought, well, this is so much more than just a sort of someone who's just a sort of a plot device, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Talk about, because you're in this chair and you're not allowed to move, but your eyes tell a lot. Talk about acting out these scenes and what's going through your mind, especially during the scene where it's pretty clear it's now just you with Pearl.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, those scenes with Pearl were extraordinary. I mean, the scenes, in the bath, where he's sort of next to her, and she sort of begins to really push the envelope in terms of, pinching him and that
Yep.
sort of thing, and it's yeah, I mean, you just look, all as an actor, you just sort of, all you can do is sort of play, the truth of the situation, and it wasn't. I got to say, it wasn't that hard, you know, um, when you're acting across from Mia Goth, and she is committing to this 100,000%, um, and really it's a sort of a very reactive sort of role, I suppose, that I've got, albeit one of diminished sort of physical capability. But, being there on set, um, with Pearl, in a way, my job was very easy because I just sort of had to react to what was happening.
Did you
Um,
ever did you when she was pinching you and whatnot to see if you're there, did you ever how many takes did that take? Did you ever just burst out laughing at any point in that, or did you manage to keep it together?
there was a lot of laughter, in between takes, because it was just so extreme. I mean, there were other things which didn't sort of, I mean, which I can't really go into, but didn't make the cut. But no, there was, I think that was sort of one of the sort of saving graces, is that we were able to, just to laugh, and just in sort of, but just at the absurdity of it. But then equally completely go into it once the cameras were rolling. So no, it was a very it was a lovely set to work in. It was quite a light set, um, and Ty West was just extraordinary to work for. He was so sort of oh, I don't know, sort of calm under fire, if you like. He was just very, very, and assured and calm and in control. I mean, I guess he just shot X as well. So
Did you
you know,
see X prior?
no,
No, okay.
Uh,
They
so
did he did a good job at setting X in 1979, and then he
yeah,
set this one in 2008, or not 2018,
okay.
1918. Where's my
Yeah,
mind at?
yeah. No, that's right. And you could really sort of get a sense that yeah, he was warmed up. The whole crew was sort of warmed up. They'd already rolled it. They just they were just warm and ready to go. One movie later.
They're talking, and I hope this happens. They're talking about, hoping that Mia Goth gets an Oscar nomination for this. Now, looking back in the past, horror is not generally up for Oscars, but Psycho's been got nominated for some Oscars. You had Ruth Gordon win for Rosemary's Baby. You had
Oh,
some nominations and wins for The Exorcist, and you had Anthony Hopkins for Silence of the Lambs win.
exactly.
I would
There's
love to see Mia Goth get the Oscar nomination at
Wouldn't it
least,
be wonderful? I think she deserves it. I really,
Oh, I
really,
do
I
too.
think, yeah. Oh, so no, I think I mean, I think fingers crossed for that because it was truly extraordinary to be working across from her, and I guess I sort of had the I was sort of in the position. Well, I mean, I was sort of just watching everything that was sort of happening. I mean, the scene where Pearl and her mother are fighting in the kitchen, and then I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers, I suppose, but
Just something tragic happens, huh?
something tragic happens. Was one of the most extraordinary things I've. I mean, truly no acting required. In terms of I suppose whatever horror I was witnessing. There were a number of incidences like that where and as I said before, and the scene in the bath where my job, it was sort of made easy for me in a way because it was just, you just sort of play, be truthful under the circumstances, but it felt so alive, and but her commitment to that role was just absolutely extraordinary. um just one of the greatest privileges, acting, sort of honors of my life, really, to have been on this film with her. Yeah.
Now, it was Tandy Wright that played the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm seeing here. Okay, I'm just looking that up here.
Yeah.
Boy, they made her up to look quite old in this too, because the pictures I'm seeing on here, she's actually quite striking.
Oh yeah, no, Tandy's a phenomenal actor, and and well, highly um regarded in New Zealand. We've worked together before, actually. We did a film together 20 or so years ago called Out of the Blue, which was about New Zealand's worst mass murderer.
Mm-hmm.
So I played him, and she was in that as well. So no, I've got a lot of respect for Tandy, and we had a great, it was great to be on the shoot with her as well. We, really supported each other throughout the whole thing.
So is she still in New Zealand?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I
yeah,
should reach out and get her on here.
yeah,
But
you should.
yeah, absolutely. But she was really good in this. But I've seen her on here now. Some of the pictures, like um, she looks a lot younger in the pictures I see on IMDb than what she looks in Pearl. So
Yeah, sure. Well, it's the magic of movie making, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
she was terrific in Pearl. And a lot of people and then reviews have said they positioned her as the antagonist. But I don't think she was, because she was, yeah, she probably should have been a lot easier on Pearl and a lot more encouraging on Pearl than she was. But at the same token, she's not really a villain either. She's just in a bad position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to consider the times that they were living in,
Yep.
and also, the circumstances which prevailed in terms of her husband, who was, presumably the bread, winner,
Mhm.
being completely incapacitated. So, the pressures on her would have, would have been mind-boggling, really. So no, you can sort of you can sort of sympathize, I think, with her disposition, and she's, I think ultimately she appears, to me at least, to really just be looking out for her daughter. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, it all sort of makes sense to me. Yeah.
Did you, of course, get the moment where she is trying to play this off as it's normal, but of course it's not, and of course brings the projectionist there, David Corn sweating,
Yeah.
and that was interesting because watching him react when he realizes, okay, there's something not right with this woman. uh, it was just great when it was starting to register with him that, okay, I stepped somewhere where I didn't need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, he did a fantastic job, I thought.
Mhm.
Uh, really nice guy as well. So no, it was, I think, I mean, it was, yeah, I thought, everyone sort of brought their A game to this.
Gotta
Um,
mention Emma Jenkins Pearl too. Was also
yeah,
really good in this. Like listening to the monologue. I find it interesting that Howard, who you see as an old man in X, and of course, he's off to war here. He ends up supporting her because when he comes back for the war, because X, of course, is set in 1979 and Howard's still with her. But
yeah,
when you look at Misty, who is his sister, you, I'm like, is there another story in there they need to tell? I like to know
yeah,
how
no, I
she.
know. Yeah, I mean, I mean, this you could sort of, expand this sort of world out in so many sort of different ways, couldn't you? But
Well, they're doing Maxine with a triple
yeah,
X on the
yeah,
Mac and on
yeah,
the X,
yeah,
but there is some more things that they could do with this, and but the acting was outstanding all around, with everybody, and and of course he shot this. Of course, he had COVID going on, but I
that's
like
right.
how Ty West just kind of took it and like, they made X on a small budget,
Yeah,
made that work really well. Pearl, not only did they do well, but they made it look like something that was shot like the Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind or whatnot. I like that style he brought to that.
yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing too that you have to remember is that he wrote this in quarantine on the way into New Zealand. So, I mean, it was just extraordinary how sort of quickly this entire film was able to be realized, bearing in mind, that the script was literally fresh off off the page, so to speak. But I guess it made sense because you had this, you had the set was all there,
Hmm.
and you had a crew who were very well limbered, and of course Mia. But no, it was extraordinary. I mean, rocking up to the set the first time was something else as well, because I mean the work that they'd done on the on the house, or I suppose mansion, so to speak, was just, you know um, the detail was sort of sublime, right
Hmm.
down to the old-fashioned sort of wallpaper. And yeah, no, it was one of the most impressive sets that I'd ever been on for sure.
Wow. Yeah, and again, Mia Goth was extraordinary. I think the whole cast was extraordinary, but she also was involved in producing and writing this film as well. So um,
Yeah.
she's really stepped up her A game, and I hope to see a lot more of her.
Oh yeah, I think you will as well. I think this is really her, you know, her, her moment, really, and long may it continue. But I really, once again, I just think, all of the plaudits that are coming her way are just so well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, and yeah, I really hope that she gets recognised in one way or another.
Well, let's talk. Tell me what you can about The Stranger, because you just wrapped that. What can you tell me? You don't have to give spoilers, or what are you allowed to tell with this
Well, yeah, we shot
movie?
that a couple of years ago. That
Hmm.
was at the start of sort of lockdown here, and it was um, it's based on a case of a missing boy in Queensland in Australia, and the subsequent undercover operation to track and convict the man responsible, which turned into the biggest undercover operation, and in terms in Australian, sort of, I suppose, police history, a very elaborate sort of operation, and which was sort of went over a long period of time. But it was directed by a chap by the name of Thomas M. Wright. I'd seen an earlier his first film, Acute Misfortune, so I sort of knew who he was when I was approached. And no, it was that was an extraordinary experience as well. I mean, very, very dark subject matter, and of course working alongside Joel Edgerton and Sean Harris, was certainly I really again had to sort of bring my A game, I suppose. But it was just one of those films where we were all very conscious of the real life story and wanting to do it justice. But it's we went over to Cannes earlier this year, because it had been selected to play in competition there in certain regard, and that was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. Attending the premiere and seeing the finished work was extraordinary.
You mentioned Queensland. When I think it's Queensland, Australia, I think that is where they generally you find the taipan snake, one of the most dangerous snakes in the world.
Yeah, no, that's right. I reckon anywhere in Australia, you're only about a couple of feet away from a, creepy crawly of some sort or the other. But yeah,
The snakes, the box jellyfish, various
uh,
spiders.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've heard all about them. But did you see anything like that while you were there?
No, 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 we didn't. But they're never too, like as I say, they're never too far away. That's for sure. I don't know if I'd be, I don't know if I'd be going swimming, particularly as you get further north. You start getting into alligator territory, and yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, and they got the cassowary. Think
Yeah,
even kangaroos, I heard that can be aggressive there. So I'm like, yeah,
that's right.
yeah. But nonetheless, um, did you attend the premiere for Pearl?
No, no, no. That was at Venice a month or so ago. No, I
Hmm.
wasn't able to attend that one, but no. So but they arranged a special screening for Tandy and myself, and a little group. So that was it was great to be able to watch that. And the casting director Stu Turner was there. Yeah, it was great. It was a real moment to be able to sort of see that for the first time on the big screen. And
Absolutely.
we hope it gets some sort of at least sort of limited run in New Zealand as well, because I'd love to be able to share this with the people here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I certainly enjoyed it very much. I think it's one of the best films I've seen this year. That and X both, I enjoyed both. And looking forward to Maxine. Do you have any charities that you're passionate about you would like to promote on here?
Um, I I'm always a strong advocate of the Cancer Society. I lost my mother to cancer when I was a boy, so that's something that I hold dear to my heart. So yeah, my father actually did a lot of work for the Cancer Society, and that's and he was sort of very involved with health. He was the chairman of one of the district health boards, and as I say, was chairman of the Cancer Society as well. So no, it was I think that's the one cause that I tend to want to yeah.
Absolutely. And you get a web page you want to plug on here so people can reach you?
I don't have a web page. Do you mean for myself?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have a.
Okay. All right. I found you through Facebook, but still, usually that my second is go through web pages, but nonetheless, what do you have coming up?
Well, I've just actually just wrapped a film on the weekend called
Hmm.
A Mistake, which is directed by um, fantastic filmmaker Christine Jeffs, and it actually stars Elizabeth Banks,
Oh,
who came,
yes, yes.
who came over to shoot here in New Zealand. So, no, that was it was another great experience. So, no, we just sort of wrapped that on the weekend, and now it's back to wait and see what turns up.
Well, like I said, I loved your work in Pearl, but I need to ask, was acting always in your blood? Like, is that something that you wanted to do all your life, or is it something that you kind of just fell into?
No, it was you know since I guess I was 8 or 9. Mum worked at a local community theatre in a small town in New Zealand, and I would just and so she basically just sort of worked on in sort of administration and reception and that sort of thing, and I would just sort of go and I might go and visit her after school and that sort of and and sort of wonder what this sort of strange environment was, and she sort of brought me into sort of do some classes and that sort of thing. But I just sort of started doing it quite young, and then when I moved up to Auckland when I was about 17, I was lucky enough to go to a terrific to finish my last year of high school at this terrific school called Selwyn College, which had a fantastic sort of drama syllabus run by an extraordinary teacher, June Renwick, and you know I basically was able to sort of drop out of most other subjects and just sort of concentrate on drama and that sort of thing. And then once that year was over, I was just right. I just sort of rolled up my sleeves and got into it. But it's pretty much all I've ever wanted to do. I mean, I've had little. I've directed a few short films and that sort of thing as well. But I think I feel like I've been very fortunate, really. I've worked on a number of films and plays and that sort of thing, and I had a time in Australia where I was working over there as well, living there. But no, it's been great, and also to see the New Zealand film industry as well, just go from strength to strength. And when I started out, there might have been maybe one or two sort of films per year, but now it's just the industry is just extraordinary. And of course, a lot of overseas productions are coming over this way as well. So it's a good time. It's a good time to be an actor in New Zealand. Long may it continue.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I really appreciate having you on here today and having you grace my show. This is quite the honor to have you come
Oh,
on here today, and I hope maybe eventually, they get you to do some of these cons like the one I was just at in Toronto.
oh yeah, no, gosh, that'd be wonderful. I'd love to do something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's a
absolutely.
lot of fun, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
I was assisting one of the guests there, and I was telling people, I said, when I get back, I have somebody from Pearl coming on, and I know the organizer for that event, Chris Alexander, really
Yes.
enjoyed Pearl,
Oh,
so
good. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and I hope so. No, it'd be great. I'd love to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, those are a lot of fun. I know some other podcasters out there that would probably love to have you on their show. Do you mind if I pass your email off to them?
Not at all. No, by all means. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be
Okay,
delighted.
I'll do that. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad your Zoom worked. and
Yeah, absolutely. Last
and
minute.
well, I know that you had the film you were shooting. We were supposed to do this before I went to Toronto, but you know what? I'm very patient on this, and I'm glad we made this happen. This is
No, it's great, and thank you for your understanding on that. It's
oh,
been great.
no
I really,
problem. I get it.
no, sure.
I
Yeah,
work
no,
at a
thank.
hospital, so I
Yeah,
totally you have to have some patience to,
yeah,
so yeah, I
no, it's
totally
great.
got it. Yeah.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
How do you mean? Sorry.
Just state your name and
Yep.
that you're in Pearl and say that you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Okay. Hi, it's Matthew Sunderland. I appeared in Pearl, and I'm proud and to have been talking to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
You know what? I'm very proud to have had you as a guest, you know. I'm going to keep an eye on what you're doing, and when you get some more projects come out, I'd love to have you back.
Thank you very much. It'd be my honor.
Absolutely. God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, my friend. Bye
All
bye.
right. Enjoy New Zealand, that beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.